All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 2 all afternoon. Labor Day was yesterday. That means it is go time. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, all in studio. All looking good, all feeling good.
And you are on our program now because I watch in the summertime. You were never in here. You used to say to us, you guys get the summers out. You were gone.
I was gone a lot. I've been a lot recently, the last couple of weeks.
What I loved is you would pop in on a Tuesday and then you'd be gone the rest of the week.
Yeah,
so now you're welcome to the club. You're off on the summers too, and we're all back at the same time.
You're right. There was a lot of that this
My
summer.
favorite thing was when Matthew signed. You were nowhere to be found.
The worst possible scenario. I was at an event that I couldn't get away from for 5 minutes, let alone a 10 or 15 minute.
Right. You wanted to call in?
I was going to call in. Like the grappler called me. I saw you two guys got on.
I think we both came on, right?
Yeah. And I was at the one event, one place, one scenario where it wasn't possible. I've been telling this to people for weeks. Like if I was at Disney with my kids, I'd say, go over there for 15 minutes. I got to go make a call.
Yeah.
If I was in space, I'd find a way to make a call. This was the only scenario where it was like, I can't, and I can't tomorrow, and I can't the next day. So
are you on the moon? Or you
I was at a tournament, and there was some drinking involved, and it was a competition, and it just I'm a man of integrity.
You were 3 sheets to the wind when it happened.
Partially that was the case. Yeah, and I knew it was going to happen.
It just sounds like a member guest. And
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
That's precisely what it was.
Yeah, you're creamed from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., and you can't talk to anybody.
Literally exactly what it was, and it's not a situation like any other round of golf. You say, I'll see you on 10. Like, I got to go. Like, just put me down for bogeys, pars, I don't care. This is competitive. You've got partners,
and you're deep.
And
already.
I was having a good time. So,
having the time of his life.
That was it. I was Sergio Dip, so I couldn't call in. And then last week, the Keefe contract comes down, which I wasn't overly surprised by. I guess I was with the timing. I wasn't anticipating that it would happen, but I think once Trey Living and company decided that Keefe was going to return, this felt like a formality. That he was going to get some years tacked on. I don't think it guarantees security throughout the year.
No,
for
they've
Sheldon
got nothing
Keefe.
but money.
Exactly.
They could fire him by Christmas if all hell breaks loose. I don't think they will, but it gives him some flexibility, gives him some stability, and we're not asking about it every day.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want a lame duck coach that's got to talk. Nylander's going to have to talk about his contract all year.
I hope that doesn't happen, but I
can't do the Stamkos Tavares Nylander thing. I don't think he's going to sign throughout the season.
No.
But I don't know if I can do it with him. I thought it was going to happen, but I don't know if I can come in every day and say, oh, maybe he's going to. No,
we need to commit to it day one, because I actually was having a chat with a grizzled veteran. This guy was a big Leaf fan. He was from about 2 hours north of the city. A lot of flannel. I think he had a mustache, and he loved the Leafs, and he loved the show. Loved the show. But he did say, he's like, a lot of contract talk with the Leafs. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good point. There is a lot, because you have to.
Right.
It's a part of the conversation in the modern day game.
What does he mean, though? A lot of, like, what we talk about?
I think he meant in general in the hockey world, as opposed to, do you like the player or do you not like the player? Did he play well? Did he not play well? Can they win a Stanley Cup or not? And again, I blame Bettman and the owners, and this goes back to the lockout where you guys were right in the mix.
Right.
But it's become a math equation, and it is important context to the whole chatter surrounding the NHL. You have to do it.
And it's just a lot noisier here. Like Barzal could sign an 8-year extension for $9 million, and it just seems to go across the ticker.
Right.
These are just polarizing, and it's the biggest hockey market, and it just seems to take up a lot of oxygen. There's nothing we can do about it.
No, that's the job, and that's the way. And there are a lot of Leaf fans that are looking for that type of talk. It's just, I think some fans are like, X's and O's, are they going to win or are they going to lose?
Right.
Because it gets complex when you start talking about 13.25 over 4 years. What does that do for, but it just gets a lot deeper than a lot of people want.
Add in the player, though, too. Nylander is a polarizing guy, not I think to the team and the organization. Outside of that, to this fan base, you're either on Team Willie or you got a problem with him.
Right.
I like the guy, but yes, he's a flawed player like every player in the league. Every player, every person on this planet has flaws, but everyone points to the flaws instead of pointing to the good things. The people that love Willie Doesn't matter. Write him a check for $20 million a year. Love him. Doesn't matter. He could do anything. Great hair, good looking, good player, all of that. People who don't like him, doesn't matter. They wouldn't pay him $1 million a year. They just don't like the player.
Can't win with that.
Can't win with that guy. So he's a polarizing guy. That's where I think it adds to a little spice on top.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, there's very few guys in the league that are of the status of a Matthews, where it's like, just figure it out, work it out. Yeah. It's important that he sticks around. And Willie's a step or two below that. So there's going to be negotiations. There's going to be back and forth. But you're right. Like, they're going to be in town in the next 2 weeks. Yeah. And Willie's going to have to address it. Now, Willie's like, he's with the media, he will talk, but he's not going to say much. No. Like, William Nylander is not a guy that's going to be unprepared for that moment. He will say the stock answer, I love it here, blah, 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 and we'll move on. And that's what it's going to be.
Oh, and he can end it right away, too, and say, it's going to happen at some point, and I'm not addressing it again.
Right.
So, and that's it. Then it's over.
And it really doesn't matter if he loves Toronto or doesn't love Toronto. And I believe he does. Yeah. And I think he's being genuine when he says he wants to stay here. But it's a business in the end. He'll be an unrestricted free agent. He has earned the right to negotiate whichever way he chooses.
Absolutely.
He can negotiate that way. But it's incumbent on the Leafs to make sure that they don't buckle. And I don't think they're going to.
And he is not the only guy in the boat. You mentioned Nylander. There's guys in Calgary, for example, that got to come back and got to be asked the same questions. Whether it's Lindholm, Backlund, Hannafin, those are 3 guys that need contracts.
Right. Hellebuck's flying.
Hellebuck and Scheifele, like, those are guys.
That's right.
Like, it's going to be throughout the country, very noisy around not just the Leafs, but around a lot of teams. Winnipeg, very interesting to see what's going to go down there. Because their team, I thought Chevy did pretty good with the Dubois return.
Yeah.
But they still got the elephant in the room are 2 of their core star players, Scheifele and Hellebuck.
What I think is pretty wild, and we'll probably do this as we get closer to the season. We might ask Ray about this too. Ray Ferraro coming up in an hour. Is I think the quietest market in the country that is dealing with absolutely no pressure is Montreal, which is really counter to what they've always represented.
Right.
Because they're bad, they know they're bad, they're young, and they're just going to play it out. Like, I think they're not making the playoffs. They have no chance of making the playoffs, and they know it. But it's not noisy. There's no controversies. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. If you're going to rebuild and retool, you got to get your guys in and let them grow and let people breathe. But the history of that market, English, French, the expectations have been higher than anywhere else in the country throughout our lifetime, for sure, based on what they've done, 24 Cups, et cetera. Yet, I think you could go Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, and list off 5, 10 different things. Like, that'll be a point. That'll be possibly loud. This could be a controversy. Montreal, it's just like, we're going to play it out and see how it goes and hope our young guys play well.
Oh, we've done
that's basically it.
Yeah, I'm sure Mitch Melnick and the gang in Montreal isn't loving it, because when you got a team that's not expected to win, there's not a lot of wins, and there's not a lot of controversy. There's not a lot to talk about.
Exactly. Like, will Slavkovsky play? I guess we'll find out. I'm sure he will.
Yeah, but they'll have their little noise here or there, trade, all of that. But you're right. The other 6 teams have expectations, different levels of expectation. I think Vancouver made some moves where they feel that they can, with health and some players that can take a step. I think Pettersson, we know, he's a superstar. Mm-hmm. Superstar.
There's a contract conversation.
Exactly. Another contract.
What about your boy? What about your boy signing? You were all up in arms. And with my hit, I said, Auston Matthews, at the end of the deal, will sign here he's going to play here for 12 years.
Right.
Are you not happy with that? Because that was my only take after he signed that contract. You're getting this guy for 12 years in this market. Mm-hmm. I played a long time. I played 11 only. Only 11, and this guy's going to play year 12.
Yeah.
Regardless of the money, it's pretty good.
We haven't heard it.
What's my take? I had my take.
Because you were going nuts all year saying, how come it's not 8? How come it's not 8? And I kind of joined forces with you.
I still stand by that.
Well, hold on, though. When Aho signed, remember you were just like 8 years. Interesting.
Everyone else in the league.
I didn't hear your take.
Well,
I need to hear your take.
Here's my take on Matthews is, and I said this a few weeks ago, but I didn't want the story of Auston Matthews as a Maple Leaf to come to an end. So I'm ecstatic that it has not.
Right.
It's been a great story. It's unfinished business. It's very incomplete.
Right.
Because of the playoff lack of success, right? Like it's right in front of him to be considered the greatest Leaf of all time, the greatest American-born player of all time, and one of the 2 or 3 greatest goal scorers of all time. I don't know if he can catch Ovechkin, Gretzky, Bossy, but he can be in that range.
Sure.
But he's got to do it in the playoffs. You have to do it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And this pushes that down the road 5 more years. So I'm excited for that. And regardless of numbers, dollars and cents, that is what I wanted to see happen. So I'm happy with that.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, and I don't think this is disputable, is really it's a retrospective take. They screwed themselves the last time around because now you're never going to get a discount on this guy at any point in his prime.
That's true.
You're not. And we started the show talking about how this hockey world is now a math equation. That's the truth. A lot of building towards a Stanley Cup winner is the math. It's not as, yes, talent is needed, coaches need, you need health, you need bounces, who you're playing against, the right things need to break your way. But a lot of it is the math equation before you even start the season. How much money are we allotting to certain players? And they're never going to get a discount on him. And that's not his fault necessarily. He was always getting.
There's a certain amount of players, Hayes. They're writing a number down on a piece of paper, and you're paying it.
He's one of them.
But he is. But he didn't have to be 5 years ago.
Right.
That's the difference. Is they buckled years ago because if you sign him for 8 the last time, he'd have 4 more years at 11.6. That's a discount. Now you're talking. But that's not going to happen. 13.25 is totally reasonable. He was always going to make at least $12.7 million a year. He went $525,000 above that. That is not egregious. That is not greedy. That is totally reasonable. Yeah. But again, the discount, if it was 8, now you're gambling because who knows what kind of a player he is in 4 or 5 years. But if he's still one of the 10 best players in the league, years 4 through 8, you're getting a discount at that point. Now you're not.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
But I'm happy he's a Leaf. Like ultimately, that's what mattered. Keep him around. Keep him here.
And there's only one thing that I'll take away from you talking, or anyone talking about numbers, contracts, years, AAV, is some winning in the playoffs.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's the only thing lacking at this point. Like you can make the argument he's put together the greatest individual season in Maple Leaf history. You could certainly make I think it's already done that he's the greatest draft pick in Leaf history, or certainly close to it. But I'm sorry, you can't catch Gilmore. You can't catch a lot of the greats unless you have playoff success.
Yeah.
Like he needs a run like Gilmore and Wendell had in the early 90s, like Matt's had at different times.
Thing is, though,
gotta happen.
How do you guys feel
and then
about
beyond
this?
that?
Because last year coming in, this show, last year, I think people were pissed and people were like, wake us up in April. I think people are still like, I don't believe that this year. I think people want to see what this team, the way it's constructed differently, the way they play. Like, I'm not just wake me up in April with this group for 2 reasons. They're constructed differently, and everybody around them, with the exception of Philadelphia and Montreal, have gotten better.
Boston's got worse.
Well, I'm talking. You're right.
Bergeron and Krejci leaving. Boston's worse.
I'm talking those, but those are top tier teams. Like I think they'll be fine. But
you're talking the teams chasing them.
Teams chasing.
Yeah.
Like Buffalo, I think may take a step. Detroit might take a step. Ottawa might take a step. Mm-hmm. Like they are going to have to play hard every night. Like there's not going to be many freebie nights.
You can't forget who you're talking about here. The people that said, "Wake me up in April," are also the same ones in Anaheim 2 weeks into the season that were asking media members to ask the coach if he was feeling safe about his job. Yeah. So it just happens organically. It just happens. It's the Maple Leafs.
Apathy is always a bit of a concern, but this team has proven, their brand has proven, the ticket sales has proven that it's not really there.
Right.
Like it's not there at a tangible level that would scare Shanahan and ownership. It'll be a sellout opening night, and people are going to watch it. People are going to tune in. But, it's on the team to I think, I don't know how you change what you've done in the regular season outside of improve it, right? You obviously don't want to go backwards because then people, to your point, start yelling and screaming.
Well, that's right.
What the hell is going on here? But if you chase 120 points in the President's Trophy, then that is something different here. That would be unique. That has not happened in Toronto in a long time.
I just think it's, it's not going to be a cakewalk for some of these top tier teams that were last year. Boston take a step back because of organically what they've lost on paper. I think the Leafs are a different team. Are they going to play different? Is that going to translate to more wins in the regular season or less just based on the way that it looks? Is everything going to be a perfect season for them in the regular season? Like their goaltending, who's stopping pucks for them? Is it Samsonov, Wall, or Marty Jones? Marty Jones.
I think Marty's going to be riding that waiver wire, man. They're going to try to sneak him through. That would be my assumption.
So. But I think it's going to be very fascinating. That's why I was looking at all 7 Canadian teams. You're right. Outside of Montreal, let's talk about the other 6. There's some fascinating storylines.
Yeah, for sure. And that will be a big part of what we're talking about throughout September. Speaking of Matthews, I guess the NHL is doing a rookie showcase. You see this Matthew Knies quote that this will be loud in Edmonton. That's where this is going to be loud. So Knies was asked about...
Before you say it, he's going to say we're the best team in Canada.
No. He
said Auston Matthews is the best player in the league.
Yeah, so Matthew Knies
not very smart.
Was asked about how good Auston Matthews is. He said, quote, pretty damn good. He's not just the best goal scorer in the NHL, but he plays defense too. He's kind of the best overall player in the NHL in my eyes. Yeah. End quote. That's going to cause a storm in Edmonton. Yeah. Not as much here. Yeah, well, in Edmonton, they're going to freak out. But I don't think there's anything wrong.
Just a young kid making a comment,
though.
He's a young kid. It's not a dumb comment. He plays with the guy, and he's supporting his guy. If the kid in Edmonton, he would say, McDavid and Draisaitl are easily the 2 best players in the world.
But they are.
Okay, that's fine. That's just a young kid.
Well, Draisaitl I would probably put Draisaitl number 2 at this point, but Matthews and Draisaitl, I think, can battle out for that. Right. McDavid is, in my opinion, without question, the best player in the world. But has he reached a status where it's unlimited respect? Like there's no one can deviate from McDavid's the greatest. Like it's not like this guy said, not like Knies said, hey, I love Austin, but McKinnon's the best player.
Yeah.
He's talking about his teammate. They're both from Arizona. I think they hang out all summer.
No, I get it. You're standing up for your buddy. I get that.
That's all sticking up for his teammate.
That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less.
You think McDavid deserves unlimited, unanimous respect as the best player in the world? From everyone, including players.
Anybody with a brain?
Right now.
Yeah, anybody who's got a brain, yes.
Okay.
Like anybody who knows the game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not even a comparison. David is the best player on this planet.
He is the best player on this planet.
So why would he not say, yeah, he's the best player on the planet?
Well, you know what's wild is that McDavid wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Connor wouldn't say that. Yet everyone else is supposed to abide by that.
He knows it.
I think he's well aware of it. I think Matthew Knies is probably well aware of it too. He's talking about, he was asked a question and it's his guy.
You're right. It's his you know what? In hindsight, if you look at it, it's his guy, it's his teammate, they're close. And Austin's a great player. It's not like, you're right, it's not like he's pointing to, Alex Kerfoot.
Right.
Or
Kerfoot,
somebody
we're
like
gonna
that.
miss it.
Kerfoot.
It's like when we're interviewed, we have to say ACB.
I say that all the time.
Oh, yeah, but we have to.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We believe it, but we have to say it.
You're right. You do have to say that. I would be disappointed. Now, I don't think Austin would be disappointed because he wasn't asked, do you think he's the best player in the league? Yeah. He was asked, how good do you think he is? He decided to take it beyond that.
Good for him.
Now, I think he's right that he's the best goal scorer in the world. I know Matthews had a down year statistically last year. He scored 41. For my money, he should be favored. I don't know if he is favored to win the Rocket. There will be steep competition. McDavid, Draisaitl, Robertson, Pasta.
Same cast of characters. And they all shift, right?
They do.
The year before, I think Pasternak had like 40. Or did he have 30
Pasta
something?
Had 60 last year. You're right. And the year before, it was a bit of a drop.
But these top tier guys, they're all going to chase it. But Matthews, you win it back to back. Like you have a down season, a down at 41, down. I expect him over 50 this year.
So do I.
With health, I'd
be surprised if he didn't score 50. But I would say the same thing about Draisaitl. He scores 50 every year in his sleep. Feels that way anyway. McDavid, likely the same thing if he's healthy.
Any one of those guys you just mentioned could tee off and go absolutely nuts, just like McDavid did last year.
What do you expect for him, though?
McDavid?
I don't know if he'll get 150 this year.
I don't think it's reasonable to expect him to keep pushing the bar every single year.
I think
last year.
I think he does it again.
150?
Oh, yeah. I think he just tees off. He just bigger, faster, stronger.
Is there one?
He's already proven he's unstoppable. He gets on the power play. Those guys in the power play last year were ridiculous.
Statistically, the greatest power play in history. That will not be replicated at the same level. They may have the best power play in the league. They're not going to go off at 37%.
Yeah, 33.
It was something ridiculous.
Gross. Who's the guy that pushes? Is it Jack Hughes that pushes through?
He could.
Into a top 5 conversation?
Into that,
that seems to be the kind of hot item pick. Is Hughes takes even more of a step.
Makar is Makar. Like, Hedman had a down year by his standards last year. Like, it'd be interesting to see who the new blood who pushes through into that, that stratosphere.
Right.
And Jersey looks like they're going to be a serious team again.
Well, I fully expect that they will be.
So,
they're loaded.
Carolina, I was saying to off air, I think they could win the President's Trophy this year.
I think they win their division, it seems like, every single year.
So good.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see how this all unfolds. Like, is Pittsburgh getting enough love? Your buddy Kyle Dubas and Erik Karlsson now?
Oh, look at him down there moving and shaking. He's chasing him, man. He's chasing a window. He's trying to squeak through a window that's closing. Maybe it's already closed. Maybe this is all moot in the end. But I think he realizes you have 2 or 3 years tops, and then it is going to be a disaster in Pittsburgh. If he can avoid them being the worst team in the league in 4 years, GM of the year. Executive
But that's why I think didn't he sign a 7-year deal?
Yeah, he's there for a long time. And then made himself the GM.
Yeah, that was after considering all of these other people.
Right.
I'm the guy.
I'm the best.
But
the best option.
But why not make yourself the GM and then there's just no...
I guess
but
that's...
in day one,
You're making all the calls, so why not?
Done that day one. He shouldn't have come out in his press conference and said, I'm going to have an extensive search.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't.
No.
I think it's pretty obvious.
Do you think he interviewed anyone?
No, I think he looked in the mirror and said,
I'm your guy.
You're hired.
You know what, though? Here's my philosophy on the 7-year deal. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think the next 2 are sell the farm, do whatever you can, and that 5 is when the process starts. Right?
That's when you're getting hired.
That's
basically.
where I think you got a lot of work because it's we talk about 5-year rebuilds. Most managers want that.
There's a lot of ifs, man. That team, as much as I love Sidney Crosby and Malkin, they didn't get it done last year at 35 and 36. They're just a year older now. It's not that age of a league, man.
Right.
They're in tough, man. Everybody says, "Oh, they got Karlsson. Now they're going to be just dynamite." They could be, but there's a lot of things need to go their way,
they're
including their goaltender. Everyone's like, "Oh, they brought him back." Like that goaltender. The goaltending that I've seen in the playoffs have been awful.
Yeah, he was unpredictable last year, Tristan Jarry.
There's old Noel Acciari on the wing there, right?
Noel Acciari.
Sneaky little signing.
Sneaky little Noel. I like the Riley Smith acquisition.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's Lars Eller.
They're a better team.
Like Matt
they're a better team today than they were when Dubas took over, but there's no guarantees in Pitt. All right, we're into week 1 of the NFL. We possibly have a massive shift in terms of what we could expect on Thursday night and beyond in Kansas City based on some possible injury news. We'll tell you about that. We got a big one coming up. The Jays are back in action tonight. Davis Schneider going to make his debut on OverDrive. Davis Schneider with his stash. He'll have the shades on, I'm sure, for the interview. I think that's mandatory.
That's the only one I want.
We will get into that heavy, significant journalism with Davis Schneider. That's coming up at 6:05. It's a Tuesday as well. Confirm or deny, still to come. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
You mentioned Ray Ferraro coming up 5. I saw a video clip on the Golf Channel of a woman going to a playoff. Oh. And all I could think of was Ray Ferraro because she's with security going to the 18th tee for a playoff. Mm-hmm. And she's going under a rope and lifts the rope off, and the rope catches her driver. Watch this. All I can think of is Ray. She's going in a playoff to win $1 million, and I just can think of Ray. The rope grabs her driver and snaps the driver in half. And now she's got to go to a par 5 with no driver. I mean, she did hit a good 3 when she got on the green in 2, but can you imagine Ray, what he would be saying to that security person?
He'd quit. He wouldn't tee off. He would say, I'm not doing it.
And then the security person's holding the driver in the head cover, telling her she has no more driver to go to the tee with.
Right.
But wouldn't out of that rule, wouldn't they be able to give her like
no,
a
you're not allowed
club?
to add. No, not because of that. You're not allowed to replace a club like during
You
a round.
are
That's
allowed if it's an accident. You are allowed. To my knowledge, maybe we got to get Bobby Weeks on.
Possibly.
That's an accident.
That is an accident.
And
now,
it was her that lifted the rope up, not the security guard.
The security guard never should have been driving under that rope anyway. What I had read was they were coming up the fairway, and another rules official said get off the fairway for some reason, which makes no sense to me.
There's no one else on the course.
You're going back for a playoff. So the security guard was kind of thrown off. I'm like, all right, I guess I got to hang a right here. But if you look at it, it was the player that had the last touch on the rope.
I know.
That was a premature
She couldn't look at
let
the
go.
security and say, what the hell do you think you're doing? You just broke my driver.
Yeah, but she can also say, we were supposed to go here, and this dope drove right.
Yes.
All I can think of
forced
right
me
at this
through.
moment is Ray in the car going
his head
to a
would
playoff.
Explode. His head would explode.
The driver snaps in half.
He would be absolutely going ballistic.
In a court of law,
I like the
my
way she
argument.
picks up the driver
Yeah,
in the
sorry,
head
you
cover.
can't use that anymore.
In a court of law, the argument would stand up is you took a hard right. I need a new driver.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
it's your
but,
fault.
I mean, do you have the driver on site? I guess they would. They're professionals. There's probably one.
Couldn't you borrow?
I would imagine
probably
they
have
all got a
spare.
backup
You can't borrow.
somewhere.
You can't borrow. Yeah, you got to have a backup somewhere. You got to have backup clubs, I would think.
But do you
you're
want to
not
take a
expecting
backup?
it.
Because they all want their gamer driver. Do you want to take a backup
No.
driver on a playoff to try to win a golf
Now,
tournament?
the winner of the playoff hold an eagle. So there's a part of me that
Dude, who
wonders.
cares?
No, I
It's a
understand.
screw
She
job.
still got job, but
Yeah.
there's a part of her that's probably like, was I really going to eagle that? Like, you can't argue. It's not like she took a 6 and, the winner of it rolled in.
No, she had an eagle putt herself. But
Yeah,
the
exactly.
bottom line is if she had a driver,
Maybe she's closer. She's
you
hitting.
can look at it a
it's
bunch
20
of
or
different
30
ways.
yards.
But she
lost 20
probably
yards.
wanted a driver on that hole.
100%. I give her credit for making the green in 2 because you would be
Right.
fuming. This is life altering, and a security guard hung a right and snapped your driver.
See, that's
just
borderline. Do you remember? Was it
infuriating.
Tour de France when the cameraman, the car? hit
Yes, yes, the car, the idiot in the car.
the guy in the
wasn't
car.
paying
hit-
attention.
Like, that's what I'm talking about. That is people that work there that cause this.
Yes.
Not the athlete. The athlete is
The
an
athlete-
innocent bystander.
You're right.
Because what is she supposed to do? Like you're supposed to get closed hang by the rope? I had to
Well,
lift it or I'd get choked out.
Yeah,
that'd be my head.
That
laying
is
there.
true. You have to do that. And who has enough experience to know I have to keep the rope high enough to make sure that my driver gets through?
It's just a mess. I was brokenhearted when I
Yeah,
saw
that one
that.
stings. Speaking of
That's
a
tough.
mess, did you guys hear about this Delta flight that had to turn around? Have you heard about this story?
Yes.
This is one of the more heartbreaking stories I think you're ever going to hear, and possibly nauseating stories. So there was a Delta flight that was crossing the ocean. All right, it was leaving from Atlanta on its way to Barcelona, I believe.
Oh my!
Like that's a big, heavy
It's a long
flight, and
that's an 8 or 9 hour flight.
it costs a lot of money. That's something people are preparing for months, if not
Going
years.
for a week over there or something.
It's a big flight. It's a big moment for a lot of
big
people.
flight. It's a big flight. And I guess they were 2 hours into the flight, which means you're well over the ocean at that
you're in-
point. And they had to turn around because there was a biohazard issue. And it was labeled, we have a biohazard issue,
which is scary.
which is terrifying. Like if you're in control back in Atlanta, you're like, what are we talking about? Did someone let
Like
go?
sarin gas or
Exactly.
something like
is
that.
there anthrax all over the place?
This is how scary it is. I don't drink anymore, and if that guy comes on the mic and says we got a biohazard, I want a quadruple vodka over the ocean.
immediately. Because you're over the ocean.
That's right.
The issue was, quote, this is the pilot calling back into control. We've had a passenger who's had diarrhea all the way through the airplane. So we have to turn around and come back.
Like doing a sprint
This
down the
guy,
aisle.
I guess, was going up and down the aisles and could not control himself to the point where it was so vile, a human being was labeled a biohazard issue, which there's
I
a
bet
part
you
of me.
he got punched and kicked.
Well, there's a part of me that thinks you'd hate that guy so much.
I would hate his guts.
You would. But that guy is in so much pain and excruciating embarrassment. He probably is completely unaware of what
doesn't-
anyone else is thinking. He's probably looking at everyone else saying, do you know how awful I feel right now? I cannot contain myself. I am dying up and down the aisle.
But here's the thing, though.
I got so many questions for
I've
that
got so
bastard. I got so many. Get him on the show.
We got it. They haven't identified the guy because if that goes public, you're done. You got to move. You're Steve Bartman.
Oh, you're
Yeah, but
fired?
he's-
You're fired and everything.
You imagine you got significant. You got a girlfriend you just started dating. You're going to meet her. She's,
Yeah.
she's already in Europe, and you're like, hey, what happened there? You didn't make it. Yeah, we had to turn things around.
Thing is,
Biohazard
though,
issue.
if
My
he had-
boiler exploded.
If he had like food poisoning or something that you can understand, like if this guy got in one
Right.
and couldn't control himself, this is what I don't understand. You said up and down. Like
You gotta
if
go
you're
Harry.
running
All the
from
way to
business-
the
No, you
airplane.
gotta
If you're
go
running
Harry
from
Dunn and
business
lock
class,
yourself in there and say just shaving, and you just stay just shaving
I
all the way to
understand that.
Barcelona.
I'm assuming there were multiple pit stops, and this guy tried to make it back, and then everything went south. And you know what's wild? And this is what I really want to know. They came back. They had about 2 hours. I'm guessing that plane was just lit up in flames. Like basically, Delta
they
said that
scrap
thing's
it.
got to disappear. Like it can't exist anymore. And they flew out on a different plane, maybe the same bird, 2 hours later. If this guy pops a 5-pack of Tums and adjusts himself, is he back on that
Not
flight?
a chance. They don't let him back on that plane.
If he gets back on that flight, then everyone else has the right to absolutely destroy him.
no, I
I think on the original one, you're like, man, I feel for this guy. This is a disaster. If he comes peacocking on the second plane, saying I'm good,
Feeling good.
we're on our way to Barcelona.
Dude,
that is
I don't know.
dropkick
I don't
time.
like. I'm a nervous flyer, and if I come in contact with this character, it's
Yeah.
just 6 or 7 inflatable masks on him, and it's out the window over the ocean. Like I can't. I
Could you
couldn't do it.
imagine?
I'd be like,
'Cause
you're.
You fly down to Georgia a fair amount. Like you go to Georgia every once in a while.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if a guy whispers in your ear as you are wheels up, I'm the biohazard guy. It's between us.
It would be a fun combo to hear what he says. I want to get the guy on. I really do.
Okay.
Just to see if he can keep it together and is like what his life is like now.
bad boiler. Like if it's just a bad boiler, but like I just don't understand how you went up and down the plane. Like
You
if
gotta
you're
just
sprinting and it's just
Harry
dropping. I
Dunn,
get
just
it. Like,
shaving, just shaving.
Yeah, you have
You lock
to be,
yourself
there
in the
would be-
can.
Right.
There would be so many people that would be sick. Can you imagine
be
him
so
running
disgusting.
down the aisle
So disgusting.
and he's dropped a moose right beside you?
That's a biohazard. I don't think that's an inappropriate terminology at all. That's a biohazard.
I've got a question for you guys. You want to talk about inappropriate, and it's closer to home. Last weekend, I went to Wonderland. Like, did you guys go to Wonderland?
I did
at
my
all?
Wonderland. I did my one Wonderland stint. It's a
witnessed-
wild scene there.
it was a full house. It was a Sunday. So it's a full house. But like there were some things that I thought were kind of offside. First and foremost, we went with baby kids in a stroller. There was a guy who was arguing with us that we were not in the line. You got to go to the back of the line. I'm like, well, they put us here.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was line police. So
Line police is the
my buddy's
worst.
almost in a fist fight before we even get in it. And I'm fine with it. We settle it down. We go in. We make it in. Little guy's got to go to the bathroom. So I walk him in the bathroom. You can't.
Oh, it's
You
a
go
biohazard.
into a stall
in there.
there. You want to talk about biohazard? You
It's
need
a
a cocoon
biohazard.
to put it to even put that kid close to the toilet seat. You got to carry it.
Yes. Well, and if you're anywhere close to the water park, it's just puddles of
Yes.
water in there,
It's-
which is wild.
It is beyond.
You see some people walking in there with no shoes, and you're like, man,
Back to the
what are you
flight.
doing?
It's all gross, but back to the flight. What do you think would have happened if they put it to a vote on the bird? Like, do you want to just keep trucking on and get to Barcelona or not?
that's a great question. I think it would depend.
I
on
bet
where
you half
are.
the flight more than half the flight would have said we just keep trucking.
I would guess you'd get 51% of the votes saying yes.
But
We've gone this far. We have 6 more hours.
Wouldn't they have to hand a masks? Like
don't
you'd
know.
have to wear masks.
I don't know. I don't know how you determine the difference between a biohazard and just a really ugly situation. Like biohazard is suggesting other people were starting to become like violently
sick.
ill themselves, because that is an issue. Like you get a problem in there. The ventilation is not exactly flying,
Yeah.
right? And you're over the ocean, man.
If he's spraying a little bit on the way back, like that's not good.
Taking a vote. And what if the guy couldn't contain himself like the rest of the way? It was just going to get worse. Like that'd probably be a part of the gamble.
Yeah.
Like, listen, we could try to truck for 6 hours, but there's a chance this guy's just getting started.
And what if he
There's only one thing left to know, and it's important. I want to know what the guy got up to the night before.
Yeah, so do I. What was he up to? And what did
was
he
it
eat right
just
before he got on the
cheetahs in
plane?
Atlanta till 4? I want to know what the hell he got up
wings or something.
Yeah, we need to find out what that guy was up to. What was he doing in Atlanta the night before? Because if it was a hangover, that's a completely different story.
Yeah.
All right.
That's tough.
Okay, we'll try to get to the bottom of this.
Oof.
All right, more on that, more on Wonderland later this hour. Ray Ferraro in about 25 minutes. Davis Schneider at 6:05. Travis Kelce hyperextended his knee today. The line is already moving towards the Lions. Is it enough to start thinking the Lions could win outright on Thursday night? We'll get into that and more. And the Jays back in action tonight. Owen Noodles are back on Bryan Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. It's a great track, man. That Dua Lipa, she's got some outstanding tracks. Outstanding. Not T-Swift levels, but pretty good stuff.
This Taylor Swift is like, she's Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it's as big as it gets.
Big.
As big as it possibly gets.
I've had to tell my kids it's not happening like it.
I'm not far off that. Like, it's so far away, it doesn't really matter right now.
But I am not,
Brian.
I'm just not doing that.
Yeah.
I had phone calls going, Taylor Swift's coming for a couple shows to Toronto in November. You think you can make some calls to get some tickets? I'm like, yeah, let me know. It's a year and a half
It's
away or
15
whatever.
months
I was
away.
like, what? Like, call me like a week, an hour before, or not an hour, a month before, and we'll see.
We'll see what we can do for you.
What is going on? It's insane.
I know.
How, and it's like, isn't she doing like 6 shows?
She's here. There's like 300,000 tickets available for 6 shows, effectively, like give or take, and yet it's still a rat race to try to get your hands on any. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so news in the NFL today, possibly big news. Travis Kelce hyperextending his knee.
I hope he's all right.
Yeah.
Doing what? Like a walkthrough?
They would have been practicing. Yeah, basically, they play on Thursday. That's the thing. Like, there's no pads, there's no contact. It was probably a walkthrough where he was running some routes and something happened. Now, as of now, it's nothing to be overly concerned about, but that can turn quick. Like a hyperextended knee can turn into structural damage real quick.
If you try and force
for a big guy that's not young anymore, he's 33.
I'm going to tell you guys this. I watched that quarterback on Netflix. Kirk Cousins is my guy.
You're a Kirk Cousins fan. Talk to him. He loves Kirk Cousins.
What are you talking about?
I always thought you were a Kirk guy.
I like that Kirk Cousins.
Really?
I like him. Like his
can't take him
personality
seriously.
was awesome. Marietta, that guy's a loser.
Yes.
I didn't like that guy.
Yeah,
Quit
well, he's basically out of the league
Well,
now.
isn't he with Philadelphia? Isn't he?
But he's not going to play. I mean, Jalen Hurts is the guy. Like, he had a chance last year in Atlanta to, like, basically redeem himself.
Packed it.
So
And see you later.
is my guy Campbell and the Lions favored now?
Not favored, but the line is moving. So on FanDuel, it's been 6.5 for months.
Right.
Like Kansas City favored by 6.5 since the line opened effectively. I don't think it's moved much. I just checked a few minutes ago. It's down to 5.5.
Ooh.
Which means I'm assuming money's coming in on Detroit, or FanDuel's getting in front of it and saying, listen, we got to adjust the line here. Because if Kelce's out, Chris Jones is likely going to be out anyway. Chris Jones is their best defensive player. He is the identity of that defense in Kansas City. He's a phenomenal player. Everything runs through him. If he's out, Kelce's out.
That's massive.
That is huge. Because you look at that wide receiver corps. I know it's Mahomes, but there is nothing special there. They've never had a great run game. They've never needed it because of Mahomes. But if Kelce's out, all of a sudden, I could see Detroit winning on Thursday night.
Really?
I think the play's probably to take the points. I don't love Jerry Goff on the road.
Yeah, you do.
I don't. I do. I'm not a fan of him on the road. He loves playing at home. He's generally not so good on the road. But Dan Campbell will have that team absolutely running through walls.
Yeah.
And if Mahomes is fighting it to find some sort of target, I mean, that seems significant.
But do you bet
is
against
significant.
Mahomes, though? Do you bet against that guy?
My initial look at this is Detroit big.
You like Detroit big.
Wow.
Like outright winner, not just covering a number.
I'm willing to offer the handshake for Detroit right now. I want Detroit.
You want them what? Do you want the points or do you want, are we talking
outright
points? Because we haven't got to the point on Thursday where we're picking a game.
We'll get into it tomorrow, I guess.
All right. Okay. I'm interested in where you're
There's a certain guy I have to call and straighten some things out with.
All right.
I'm sure you know who that is.
You figure that out. I'm not going to be the one to sway you one way or the other. Something to Chew On is brought to you by our friends at Boston Pizza, the best place for any family meal. Plus, for the month of September, kids eat free with minimum purchase when you dine in. So grab the kids and hustle into your local BP tonight. Perfect.
Yeah.
School starting tonight. You can't get any better than going to Boston Pizza. But we're asking the question, is there any way the Kansas City Chiefs miss the playoffs as long as Mahomes is healthy? So let's say Kelce's done for the year. Jones never plays. If Mahomes starts and plays 17 games, are they still a lock to make the playoffs?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like it's absolutely
100%.
You don't think it's a lock?
I don't know if it's. I'm not going to say it's a lock. I'm not going to say it's a lock because of how good the AFC is. Like, you look at the quarterbacks he's going to compete with. You still have Andy Reid, you still have Mahomes, but without Kelce, without Jones, like, that's your second and third best player, respectively. Mahomes is a beast, but at some point, I think he's going to have a year where it's like
down year,
just really, really good or great, as opposed to superhuman. Can he be superhuman
You always
every
talk
single
about
year?
the quality of all the other quarterbacks, but the teams suck, and they prove it year after year.
And he is the best. There is no
Like
and
the
he and Andy
Chargers
Reid are the
suck.
best.
They suck.
They make the playoffs, though. Their regular season, they're going to make the playoffs. I think Vegas is going to be sneaky.
No, they're not.
I think Jimmy G is
not.
going to be sneaky down in Vegas.
And
Denver, who knows, with Sean Payton.
I was invited
Yeah.
October 9th to go to Las Vegas to catch a Raiders game. I'm going to go.
You're kidding me.
It's a Monday night football game.
Who are they
I will be
playing?
back in here that Tuesday. I looked
Please?
at flights this morning.
Who are they
Don't
playing?
Come back.
I might be the guy on the
Yeah.
I might be the
Honestly,
guy on
do the show or something on Monday or whatever you're going to do. Do not be on the show on
I think that
Tuesday.
Monday is Thanksgiving, so we would
that's
be
right.
off.
That probably would be, yeah.
So I will come back to Tuesday morning. There's a
No,
6 a.m.
That's a
that leaves me-
biohazard.
No,
That's a biohazard.
you're back on. I'm giving you the authority to take Tuesday
No,
off.
no. I'm
Be
coming
back
back.
Wednesday. Grappler, can you chime in?
I will be
We
back.
know the
I need to know
routine
who
when
they're
he's back
playing.
from Vegas and an all-nighter. No thanks.
Yeah.
No, but I think coming off a game like that, I mean, wouldn't we want Noodles as like our Vegas correspondent, chat about the game, what it was like down there?
Yeah. Who are they playing?
You know who they're playing? The Green Bay Packers.
Why don't you go too?
Yeah, I'm going. I'm not going. I'd love to
That's
go.
your guy Love.
That is my guy, Jordan Love. You can get your eyes. You can place eyes on Jordan Love. Watch him and see what he's up to. Maybe you'll be up in the cheap seats like his parents.
Oh, no,
were
no. Oh, yeah.
in Kansas City.
No, I'm going to be.
They're
I've got
playing the
good
Packers
seats.
that night.
I've got good seats.
That's a great game to go to, man. There'll be a ton of Packer fans there. They travel as well as any team in the league.
Well,
How about this? I'm going to speak to you around 1 o'clock, and I'm deciding whether you're on or not.
I think that's reasonable. I think he can be the vetting. He will vet whether or not you're a biohazard.
We are going to
on
get
the
the
air on
raspiness
Tuesday.
meter out, and if you don't clear a certain level, you're done.
I'll
and
say
you're
the words
coming
never
back.
know. And if I can do that, then I will be fine.
Okay. That generally is the line. You've got to be above. You never know.
Right. So
know.
Exactly.
If you sound better than that, you can be on the show.
I will be on the show the Tuesday. I
We
promise.
will have Frank DeChambeau in waiting.
Yes, we will. He'll be in the wings.
I
That's a
got
great game, though.
invited like 3 days ago. It's like, hey, we'd like to bring you to Vegas. Like I said, absolutely.
Are you going on the Monday morning or are you going Sunday? When are you
I'm
going?
going
This guy's going to be there on
What?
Friday
No, I'm
afternoon.
not.
When are you going down?
From what I can gather, I'm going to go in the Sunday. U2 is playing at the MSG Sphere. And then the Monday.
Now you're definitely not. You're not on the
Monday,
show on Tuesday.
my buddy works at MSG
I know who
Sphere,
we're
so I'm going to
talking
do the
about
MSG Sphere,
Yeah.
and then we're going to do the
Vegas
Raiders
versus
game.
Packers game.
and then I'll be home Tuesday morning.
Raps. He's
Never
out.
know.
He's now.
Yeah, now that I'm hearing about that U2 concert, that could be a
back-to-back
problem.
Jacks is a no way.
Noodles, you might not even make it to the football game.
I will make it to the football game because I'm actually not the biggest U2 fan, but I do want to see this setup, this MSG Sphere.
That
Like
sphere is ridiculous.
It looks ridiculous. Like it just like when the basketball's there and the eye and like
got to
all
be
the
bothering some people.
It has to be
Doesn't it? Like,
distracting.
if you're on the strip or
plane
something?
flying in and you see like
Yeah.
what the hell is that going over there? But it seems super cool. U2 is the residency there, so
That's going to be a cool show.
it should be cool.
That's an unreal back-to-back night in Vegas.
yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
We'll see. There's no
I might not
guarantees.
go. I might not go.
That's outstanding, though, that it's going to be against the Packers, too. That's a big game.
Is your eye on the Pack or are you eyeing still the Jets? Like where are you at?
No,
with your
I'm
boy
more.
Rodgers?
I'm intrigued by the Packers. Like they open this weekend against Chicago. That's a great battle, and they're a slight dog, but not by much. They're only like a 1 or 2 point dog, I think. Pretty sure the game's in Chicago too. I think it's at Soldier Field. But the Bears were horrendous last year.
Yeah.
Not that the Packers are the youngest team in the league. I'm bracing for a tough year.
What,
Like-
8 and 9?
I think 8-9 would be a really good season.
It's gonna
Really
be a
good
great-
season.
You're going to realize how good a quarterback you've had there
Yes.
for a long time.
I
That's
agree.
what you're going to realize.
And what I'm aware of is youth does not equal winning in pro sports. If you're the youngest team in the league, you're not going to win.
Right.
In any sport. It doesn't matter. NFL, NHL, NBA.
Yeah, and the sample size we saw last year in Kansas City, you can't judge the quarterback on what he did in that game, but it was pretty dismal.
He has had limited success in regular season games. He doesn't have a lot of snaps like Rodgers plays all the time.
You remember the receivers in that game? They were like,
it was ugly.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, that was not a game that you were
not judging him on that one sample
he's
size,
young,
but it was
and
something.
Let's see what he's got, all right? But I'm intrigued by the story of Jordan Love, the Packers, what they're going to do. They're turning things over. It's a rebuild. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
The Jets.
Dude, you're not intrigued by it. There's nothing to be intrigued about. There's just
I want to see it work long term. I guess that's
okay,
what I'm
but
saying.
you're not saying wait till you see this guy. You're not saying that.
I'm not expecting.
What if
big
he
things.
There's nothing to
surprises?
be intrigued about.
What if he surprises?
Well, that is
into
what is
rock star?
possibly intriguing, is if he's better than we expected, right?
Right.
That would be very intriguing. And maybe conversely, Rodgers is terrible. I doubt it, but it's possible.
Could be
Hour two
Delta
coming up.
Airlines guy too.
Could be biohazard. Ray Ferraro coming up in hour 2. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.